Hello and welcome to the Minority Arts Appreciation Society podcast. And I'm Josh.
I'm Mattie,
I lead the music discussions.
and I lead the film discussions.
And first off, I just want to say, I missed the old Minority Arts Appreciation podcast. Straight from the go, Minority Arts Appreciation Society podcast. Chop up the soul, Minority Arts Appreciation Society podcast. I can't do the rest of the skit because the title is too long to do it. And yeah,
The flow's a bit mad as
as I
well.
was just telling Matty, Kanye says his name 25 times in that song. So, yeah, anyway. So,
Minority Arts Appreciation Society is a lot more than Kanye. That's a lot more syllables.
yeah, anyway, so we are currently in a heat wave. It seems that the gates of hell have opened up across Britain to welcome our gracious new Prime Minister. Um, how is your day going?
Oh, it's going good. Yeah, it's going good. I love the heat. Like, I really do. But I'm also really bad in it. Yeah, it's really pleasant. But I do feel like a bit of a wax model right now. By the end of talking about Life of Pablo, I'm gonna be just a puddle on my carpet. So sorry about that. This is the
Yeah,
last episode of the Minority Arts Appreciation Society. Enjoy it while it lasts.
it is quite suffocating. And I just want to, off the bat, apologize for the bar stick. I don't want to, alienate any bigoted, misguided, idiotic fans of ours. You know, if you have any Tory listeners out there, I don't want to make them feel uncomfortable at all. This is an apolitical show.
Yeah,
And yeah, we try to keep it unbiased.
if you believe hateful, horrible things that actively negatively affect people's lives, why should you feel bad for that? Why should you be made to feel bad for that? It's these damn SJWs, you know? And that's why on a podcast led by a trans woman and a black man, we're very apolitical, you know? Free speech, free speech.
Yeah, and today we're going to talk about some apolitical albums. So, so the three albums we're talking about today are Tyler the Creator's Igor, Hatchie's Keepsake, those are the two new albums we're discussing, and Kanye West's The Life of Pablo. Quite a doozy, that last one. So we will start off with Tyler the Creator Eagle. So this is Tyler's follow-up off of his biggest album ever, Flower Boy, which he was quite popular before, but really in that kind of underground trendy hip hop community, I feel Flower Boy really launched him into the mainstream, like Billboard charting mainstream. So there was lots of wrestling on Igor, and he kind of just dropped it out of nowhere, pretty much. I mean, he had a few snippets and little small music videos every now and then, but there wasn't really a huge build up to this album. It was a bit of a surprise.
Definitely. Blue Injury Reserve out of the water.
Yeah, exactly. People kind of immediately forgot about that album because of Eagle. I remember distinctly when this came out, before I told Mattie that we were going to review it. She messaged me and expressed that she didn't know if she liked it or not, which I found quite curious. And off the bat, I'm wondering, has your opinion changed, or uh, if so, why and how?
You're getting right into the meat and potatoes straight away. Not even asking if I have a history with the artist.
Okay,
Um,
let me ask that question. You're right. You're right. I forgot the classic age old
the
question.
classic, yeah.
Before we let's that's the cliffhanger question. But before we get into what you actually thought of the album, what is your history of Tyler the Creator?
So I've been ever since Flower Boy. That was my favorite album of 2017. I love that album very, very, very much. And after that, I took it upon myself to, go through his discography, kind of dredge up everything. And it's one of the most interesting hip hop discographies. It's impressively long as well. Like, it's crazy how long he's actually been around. He feels so contemporary right now, right? He feels so of the late 2010s, but he's actually been doing his shit for such a long time. It's crazy.
Out of curiosity, what albums did you go back and listen to?
Pretty much all of them. I can't remember if I
Did
left anything out.
did you hear Bastard?
I heard Bastard. Oh, I
Damn,
heard
nice.
busted.
Oh, nice one.
Yeah,
Okay,
man.
okay. I was checking. I was just checking.
I'm here. I'm here. I'm queer. We listen to Tyler the Creator. Um,
So, here's a question. I so I've been a Tyler fan since I was 13 years old. Which is really weird to say out loud. That's been like what, 6 years? Um, I
that's
can't
a
do maths.
saga. Yeah, that's 6 years.
Okay, good. And back when I was 13, the Tyler album that was super big was Wolf. So that was the one we
Mm.
were all listening to. And I was just saying this before the call started, but I do feel like the early 2010s were a very different political climate. Like, the line between comedy and edginess that's too edgy or too offensive was way more blurred back then.
Definitely.
And it's impossible to kind of know when you're in the time period because you don't know how it will be remembered, right? So like hearing his, and in my mind, pre Flower Boy Tyler is like a completely different artist to me almost. So
Yeah, and I think that's why he feels so contemporary because he's unrecognizable.
yeah,
Like,
I mean, we'll talk about Kanye West later on. I feel a very similar way about Kanye. Like,
mm,
the stuff
mm,
Kanye did after 2010 feels like a different person to before 2010. There are obviously some lyrical, like, you can see the through line, but he feels like he really reinvented himself as the Tyler, aesthetically and musically. Um, and yeah, listening to those old albums from a late 2010s perspective, how did you feel about the really, really edgy content on those projects?
yeah, because he's not fucking around. Like,
They're
it's
like it's edgy, yeah.
yeah, there is some legitimately like shocking stuff. And I do think it's really dated. Right. Okay. This is a. I mean, it's a big conversation. I don't believe in cancel culture. I think it's yeah. I don't think it's the right way of handling things. But I also don't think you can just forget things. I think there's a I think people really disagree with cancel culture because it suggests that people can't grow. But I think people forget what growth means when they dismiss cancel culture so vehemently.
Good point.
Like growth means remembering your mistakes instead of just forgetting them and becoming a different person. Like I really think I don't think there's anything harmful about remembering someone's mistakes while also acknowledging that they've grown. But yeah, I do think it's like too much. I do find it kind of uncomfortable. Then of course it is so of its time. That's it's not even at all excusing it. It's more just discussion of like yeah what you were talking about with how prevalent it was. Like South Park was everywhere. Like we were talking about just now. Family Guy was everywhere. This was the zeitgeist. I mean, even over here we had things like Little Britain, equally as poorly, well, even more poorly aged. Yeah, this was the comedy zeitgeist, and it's fascinating again that this is another element that's completely absent from his modern works. Like, there's, I'm struggling to think of any semblance of it.
I think it's we'll discuss this. I think in Eagle it's definitely still there.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I
yeah.
will say my opinion on it and explain. So I agree with you that it's outdated in terms of there are lots of lines from this early work, like small bits, snippets that really do feel like just too much shock value. And they're just there to shock you. It's not even that he's trying to be genuinely it's like he's trying to be offensive. It's not that he's genuinely hateful or misogynistic. It's trying to get under your skin. And I don't really interpret it as comedy. It's more like think about what bands like the Misfits were doing back in the 80s,
Mm.
it's the similar attitude of horror punk. It's like horror rap, right? He's playing this horrible character um who is a deviant in every way. And it's in some ways I really admire that conceptually and think it's really brave. And in some tracks it's amazing, like the Frank Ocean track She, which is extremely dark, the music video going that. I think it's great in that song. It goes over really well. Troncat, some of the most horrible lines in that are really darkly funny, and you feel kind of, well, at least I do feel a bit ashamed when I laugh at certain lines, but they are like well delivered with charisma. And I do think he's going for that like horror rap aesthetic, which is really forward thinking, brave. But yeah, a lot of it is really outdated, and I'm happy that he's kind of stopped doing that now. I think in Igor, we're definitely still seeing some of that stuff. For example, the song New Magic Wand is
Mm.
quite literally about wanting to kill your lover's girlfriend, so that you could have your boy to yourself. But it's so much more nuanced now, I think, and tasteful and more artful even. It's less on the nose, it's less obvious. So I actually like that he's kept some of those elements but refined them in a way. And I think like speaking of Igor conceptually, this idea of him as this ugly side dude, who the person's
Mm-hmm.
ashamed of. I think that's definitely like there in his old stuff. Like a lot of the horrible lyrics were born out of sort of a self hatred and wanting to almost like confessional, wanting to bring forth the ugliest, most like intrusive thoughts you could have. So I do prefer how he's doing it now, but I've always thought conceptually this is one of my favorite things about Tyler as an artist.
Yeah, he's taken that energy. He's taken that like it's almost kind of like anti-establishment in the way it's shocking and like just that's what's interesting about it. It's the energy behind it. Before it like before when the energy when the energy shone through the lyrics, that was what made it interesting in his older works. But now it's being used by a much more mature artist, making like not the like the majority of these works makes them better in any way inherently, but just it is. I'm trying not to reveal any opinions. Let's just move on.
So now that we've established kind of like Tyler as this kind of icon, this figure, and like what overall conceptually he's going for with this new project, Eagle, did your opinion of it change? Did it grow on you, or do you feel the same way you felt when it came out?
Yeah, so just for context, that was after my first listen that I sent Josh that message. And to just outline to what angle I was coming at this from, I loving Flower Boy so much, there was a part of me that was hoping for another Flower Boy. In his very short promotional material before, he said, "This is not Goblin, this is not Bastard, whatever this is not Flower Boy, this is Igor." And there was just a part of me hoping for those shining moments in the production or those songs that just blew you away, like See You Again, that really felt like a journey in themselves. So to come around to whether or not my opinion has changed on Igor, it has. And I've come to think it's kind of like just brilliant. It's just brilliant. And those like journeys on See You Again that I just mentioned now, that's what this album is, and that's what I've come to love so much about it. There are those moments, there are those shining moments of pure artistic bliss, but the whole thing is just such a satisfying slow burn of a character study, and I think that's why I was floored to come to such a rush conclusion on it. Um, it's definitely something that I came to love more and more as I listened to it. There was a moment when I was away where I was like, I'm one listen away from thinking this is his greatest album. And yeah, if I'm honest, I think I do feel that way. I'm not 100% there yet, but conceptually I have just come to completely admire everything about this album.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I don't know. I love this album. As was probably obvious from you being my friend for the months it's been out. Uh, and I don't know if it's my favorite album from him. I I feel comfortable saying it's my favorite album from him, but I do still really enjoy Flower Boy. I enjoy Flower Boy and this for very different reasons. So my biggest gripe with this album, I think it's like almost perfect, but my biggest gripe with it is some songs feel a bit unfinished and some feel underwhelming. But conceptually, it comes together as a whole so well, and I actually really prefer the concept of this album to Flower Boy. Whereas Flower Boy, like all the songs felt really well rounded and complete, but the concept of
Mm.
the album that it's just like a car ride where you're trying to call your boyfriend isn't as exciting as the Eagle concept, where it's like you're the hideous side thing of this guy who has this girlfriend, and you're constantly like pushing him away and taking him back and fantasizing about murdering the girlfriend. Yeah, it's a really crazy concept, and it's fleshed out really well. And like you said, like it's a slow burn. Like you get hints of it at the beginning, but man, when you get to New Magic Wand and everything from there, it just goes so heavy on the concept. It's so consistent and holistic in that sense. And yeah, I totally agree with what you said. This is a slow burn of an album. So yeah, it's a slow burn. And one thing I noticed from this album is like sometimes if my mood is on shuffle and just a song from Igor comes on, like it never sounds as good as it does when you're actually listening to the album.
Mm.
It's one of those
Mm.
weird albums where it actually sounds a lot better listening all the way through. And like I said before, some of the tracks feel incomplete, but in the context of the whole album, they actually fit kind of perfectly. And it's a really great trip.
Just what you just said, like what's good on its own is this scatterbrained crazy like what the fuck song on its own, but when it comes right after Puppet, oh my fucking god, it drives me insane. I feel so fucking crazy listening to it, and it's so much fun.
Yeah,
Like it, yeah. Oh my god, this album in context is like, oh,
I
it's
think
like,
like what's good is one of the few tracks that actually does work pretty well on its own. But yeah, it's even better in context of the album. I think like okay, so spoiler alert, one of my favorite tracks is "Gone Gone," and when it's not on the album, like when you just hear it on its own, it's a decent pop song. It's really sweet, but in the context of the album, it's honestly one of the most like satisfying moments after all of the like tribulations you go through, right? Like all of the mood swings. It's such a satisfying moment. And one of my favorite themes of this album is this kind of recurring lyrical back and forth of like pushing away the love interest and putting them back in. Like you get songs like "What's Good," and "I Don't Love You Anymore," which is super like aggressive. I'm done with you, and then you get like right after that, you get stuff like "Are We Still Friends" and "Puppet," where it's just like begging this person to come back, and it really is a great and nuanced portrayal of like almost yeah an emotionally abusive relationship and how it affects someone who struggles with codependency issues, right? And I just, I just would not, I would never have expected something this emotionally complex from a Tyler album.
to come on to what, yeah, what you just said. Gone Gone Thank You. It's not just like one of the most satisfying moments in like the album. It's such a shining moment in his whole discography. Lyrics like whether it's rain or shine, I know I'm fine for now. My love's gone, my love's gone. It should be so like heartbreaking, but it's delivered with this like almost completely hedonistic, callous, happy like singing. It's so wonderful to hear this like character, like because it's like Igor essentially to me does sound like a lot of what he was going through in his early discography, so it brings up a lot of that for me as well. To hear this character say something so just emotionally mature and healthy is really beautiful.
Mm.
It's just it's it's the Avengers Endgame of Tyler the Creator's discography. It's like years and years of character development completely paying off. And when he says, "I said go go, thank you for the love, thank you for the love, thank you for the joy, but I'll never want to fall in love again." Just that exhaustion
Yeah.
of going through something like this and recognizing how much it changes you. He doesn't feel like he wants love again because he doesn't know who he really is. He just is done. He needs time to understand himself again. And I think that's the best thing about one of my favorite thing about the album is just this beautiful character arc. This is an incredibly human feeling album.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I love the kind of wordplay going on in this album as well. Like with Gone Gone, you have, I think the first time I heard that track, I thought when he said my love is gone, he meant like literally the best day love is gone. you know. Uh, but
Yeah.
then upon re-listening to it, I you could also interpret it, and I prefer to interpret it this way, as kind of my love for him is gone, you know, like, and that's why I'm so happy because I can finally I finally escaped this like vicious cycle of being hurt by this person. As well as like
Totally.
a Boy is a Gun, one of the smoothest tracks in this album. I love that kind of "Don't shoot me down" with a boy is a gun because I like him by my side. He keeps me safe. That it's this
Mhm.
really cute, like simile metaphor thing that he's doing.
A beat that jarring shouldn't be so smoothing. Like the start
Mm,
of it is so janky and off the wall, but then it transitions into this like beautiful, like bouncy rhythm. It's so lovely.
yeah,
And the whole album has this kind of every song feels like like obviously they're not all rhythmically the same, but it feels like the energy leads perfectly into the next song. It's beautiful. Like the Earthquake to I think New Magic Wand to A Boy Is a Gun, like it's just perfect.
I completely agree. And also, you're talking about how well this album's sequenced, and I want to talk about like the production of this album because I think this is probably my favorite. Man, it's tough. Flower Boy's production is amazing, but this production is just as good, just in the opposite way. So Flower Boy's production is amazing because it sounds so professional and clean in a very satisfying, holistic way. Whereas this production, he really pulled off this sort of vulnerable lo-fi aesthetic in a way that's believable. And one thing I love about this album is the way his singing sounds and how his vocals are mixed. He's not a very strong singer, but he really plays this up as a strength. And on tracks like this, where the singing's really toneless, like the "Please Don't Leave Me," no, as well as the parts where he's basically just yelping and screaming, like at the end of "Can We Be Friends," you really just get this either emotional numbness or kind of emotional devastation. And one thing I want to say about the Can We Be Friends album, there's actually an amazing live performance out there. You can find the whole performance on YouTube of him performing Can We Be Friends, and it's one of the most like heartbreaking live shows I've ever seen. It's this amazing clip of him just like screaming the final lines and like sweating and all of that exhaustion come through in the actual album, like all of it. And it's really raw. And I just think this is an extremely brave way to follow up the most radio friendly album he's ever done. And comparing this to previous stuff in his discography, there are similarities between this and Cherry Bomb, I feel. I wasn't that big of a fan of Cherry Bomb, and I feel like this is what he was trying to
Mm-mm.
do 5 years ago or so on Cherry Bomb, refined and like perfected and actually really good. And yeah, this is just an insanely impressive, mature album.
Yeah, in New Magic One that Please Don't Leave Me Now, like just how that turns into like this droning like the samples of it layering into each other, and then over on top of that comes the like chant of New Magic Wand. It sounds so like the sensory overload of it just is so reminiscent of like anxiety. I think that's like another thing about this character he plays is it's not like as he was in his earlier works, it's not sympathetic. It's like this anxious, like cloying, terrifying, like creature as Igor was. Like Igor was that, and it's fascinating because I feel like it's possible for any of us to be Igor. It's possible for any like the like this is the album of unrequited love, and it's absolutely heartbreaking to hear because it's so relatable. Obviously, this album taking it to extremes with songs like New Magic Wand, but it is like we all have this journey. Like this is a journey as old as time itself of obsession, not to this extreme, and release and growth, and it's beautiful. So not just in not just because we care about Tyler as an artist in Gone Gone Thank You is it really impactful, but if you've been through that yourself, the joy of letting go of your love and going just I will be fine and coming to love yourself as a person. That's what makes that song so beautiful. And it's Tyler that makes that song so beautiful. All of this is easy to come to a conclusion with because of Tyler's like incredible production, incredible performance. This is all on him. This is a masterpiece.
Yeah, and back to what you're saying, how amazing the characterization of this album. His early projects had, obviously the schizophrenic aspect of the character he was playing. He was always bouncing off of different characters in those early albums, like Ace the Creator, Doctor TC, Troncat, and all of these were meant to just basically, it was revealed at the end of one of the albums that they were just like in his head, and the concept of the albums of him like going to a camp and meeting these people was just figures of his imagination, which is a really cool reveal. And you get some of that on this album, which is awesome. With the new magic wand, again, really subtly eerie. There's a great bit when obviously the magic wand is like a gun, right? And
Mm.
this is like a weird hallucinatory episode. And there's this great bit when he says like, "You look concerned," as if like he doesn't understand why this person's horrified that he's like trying to kill their girlfriend. Uh,
Yeah.
Implying he's so wrapped up in this fantasy world. That was just really awesome. Stuff like that you wouldn't catch that on your first listen, but the more you listen to it, like little stuff like that really jump out at you. Before we move on to favorite and least favorite tracks, is there anything else you want to say?
Because it's not one of my favorites, I do want to touch on it. Running Out of Time, the idea of that track is so perfectly executed. Like the sampling of him saying "running out of time" and it like getting like cut and then repeated. It's such a like perfect emphasis of that like frustration and anxiety of just feeling like there's this urgency of having to um like pursue the person you love and like make it happen as soon as possible, and it's like such a drive for all the anxiety that you feel in this situation. Yeah, I just think it's like it's not the most memorable song on the album, but it's like a big part of the character that he's portraying. Like it's a huge motivation for him.
Yeah, and that song "Running Out of Time" it's not on my list of favorite tracks either, but I do really enjoy it. I really love the breezy, dreamlike instrumental, and I love his use of metaphor in the song of like comparing his lover to the ocean, and he's like walking out into him, and I found peace in drowning. It's this great portrayal of like
Mm.
self-inflicted sort of pain and abuse due to this obsessive version of love. And it's very honest and vulnerable. And yeah, that's a really lovely track. I'm happy you brought it up. I love the Tickle Mask off verse. That went really hard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Stop lying to yourself. Yeah, that shit's good.
yeah. And another track that's like so is. I love this album and I love the song "What's Good." I
Mm.
haven't put it on my favorite tracks, but like, oh my god, the Dracula line. Oh,
The bass when that
yeah.
line's going. Oh my fucking god, dude.
And also Slow Tie screaming, "I see the light" in the background is
I see the light.
incredible,
Yeah.
incredible. Uh, anyway, so yeah,
All
what are
right.
your three favorite tracks?
This is probably a bit bold, but if anyone is my favorite track, it's probably What's Good. The transition from the first half of that song, where it's like, "How the fuck you crying with the mic on?" Um, it's so crazy and scatterbrained to this second half where following Puppet, which is an incredibly obsessive song, he comes to this grand realization of I See the Light, and it turns from this incredibly bass heavy, like grimy track to this like kind of ambient piano. It's just like a beautiful moment. And like yeah, it's kind of amazing that like you take this slow burn of an album and have such a pivotal moment in just a 3 minute track. I really really love that song. And then just the like that might not even be my favorite track, but if I had to name one, it might well be that. And then the other two, um, I really love Gone Gone Thank You. It's just beautiful. The line you you feel like felt like summer to my December. Was it my August? Shit, I don't remember. It's like just gorgeous, like that, like beautiful summery feeling of love, but just how like you want to remember every little detail, but it becomes so blurry. That's gorgeous. And but then just him letting go of that. It's beautiful.
Oh,
Oh,
before you move on, like,
this is
I,
so hard.
I completely agree. I hadn't really thought of it that way, but the idea of like letting go of love involving forgetting little aspects of what it was like to be with that person, like forgetting what month you did certain things. It's this really sad, like tragic thing, but
Yeah,
it's also a very cathartic and rewarding process. It's really cool to see that represented in an album.
you know, the person that you were when you were in love with them would be so heartbroken to think that now you would be so glad to forget details like that. But then, um, for you in the present, you're happy to be moving on. Yeah, it's so complicated. It's just fantastic. Last favorite is really like this is so difficult. This is so difficult. You know what? You know what? You know what? I don't give a fuck. I'm Earthquake. Earthquake is. I do not give a fuck. Um, I don't. Earthquake is. Earthquake is fucking amazing. I love Earthquake. Him just screaming, "Don't leave, it's my fault," is so painful, and it's and raw. Just that feeling of like, which I know is incredibly heartbreaking. Just like this is like you want to rationalize this is your fault because if it's your fault, it's something you can change. But they've already left.
Yeah, and you get the vibe. He's like a. There is really abusive vibes, like of like hazing, like someone convincing you that you're the reason everything went wrong, and you're like so in love with them that you kind of just buy it, right?
Yeah, it's yeah, just like it's so layered. It's so layered. But also just you get all the emotion out of Tyler's vocal performance, and like you said, it is, he's not the most technically sound performer, but that doesn't mean shit. Um, like just you might be technically sound, who cares? Like you really just feel the pure desperation in his voice. Like this has been meme to hell. Can't fucking understand a word Playboy Carti's saying. I don't care. I really like his verse. And just yeah, I really like the kind of like groovy beat. I really like this song and I have no
Yeah,
shame.
I was surprised Earthquake got as big as it did because I think it's very like off-kilter and experimental. It sounds like a demented pop track. Like it sounds like your
Hmm.
average pop ballad, but performed by the weird monster in the closet who can't really pull it off properly, and there's this like awkwardness to it and sweaty desperation. Like
Just like Billie Eilish.
I really like that aspect. I really like that aspect of the song. I'm not in love with Playboy Carti's verse. I take this album very seriously, and I think Carti's verse is a bit of a meme.
It is
Like
out of
it's
place. It is
funny and I
comically out
enjoy
of
it, but
place.
like it's just too much of a meme for this album's tone. Like, and even when I go and
But it's so strangely beautiful, like how incoherent it is. It's so amelodic and like just
But
oh,
okay,
I
like
love it. I
similar to
love
like
it.
Kanye's verse, where both Carti and Kanye, I don't actually think they said anything thematically relevant for the album, but like Tyler
I'm pretty
produced
sure Playboy Carti says like I'm here with Tyler. Like
Tyler
anyway,
produces
go
and
on.
mixes their voices in a way that's so wholly satisfying and sonically pleasing. Uh, does that make sense? Like in the Kanye's verse, I don't really like
Yeah.
Kanye's verse, but I love how it's mixed and the little ad libs that Kanye does, noises. Yo, get to me, yo, get to me. Like the way he mixes them into, oh, it just sounds so good. Like Tyler took really, in my
Mm.
opinion, mediocre verses and just made them so aesthetically appealing with his
That's why I
incredible
love the
production.
song.
I
Yeah.
love Earthquake too. I'm just talking about Kanye's verse.
Least favorite track. I do like this song. I do like this song. And I don't want to discount it as like a meaningful moment, but I do think "Are We Still Friends" is not the strongest closer. I think after the like incredibly like exciting and interesting production choices throughout the rest of the album, like the kind of oh no. Oh
Oh no,
no.
go on.
Oh no. I'm scared. I do think the kind of like the way it's introduced after "I Don't Love You Anymore," which is one of the moments where like it's the production is some of the weirdest. It kind of comes in and sounds just quite conventional. I love Tyler's performance on this. I love Tyler's performance on this, and I like this song quite a bit. It's just not my favorite.
All right, so moving on to, would you recommend the album?
Of course, I wholeheartedly recommend this. I think I say wholeheartedly every time I recommend something. Um, but yeah, it's wonderful, and don't do what I did, where you listen to it for completely the wrong reasons the first time, and then message your friend and say I don't think I like it, and then completely change your mind over the course of a month. It's brilliant. It's simply brilliant for every. I just don't have anything else to say. I think I'm really happy with how I've explained why I love this so much. Just go listen to it, and it absolutely deserves to be where it is in the charts. It's so brilliant to see it do so well.
Yeah, beat DJ Khaled.
There is some justice in the
Moving
world.
on to my favorite tracks. So, one of my favorite tracks is "Are We Still Friends?" I think this is a gorgeous closer, probably one of my favorite album closers of the year. To go back to what you said about it being quite conventional, I think that that's partially the point. It sounds like an oldie song from like the 40s or the 50s. And I think after the crazy,
Mm.
schizophrenic, kooky ride of the album, you get this really composed track, where it's just calmly asking, like, in his mind, this is him being rational and calming down. Like, can we be friends? Can I still see you, even though we're not dating anymore? And it's sort of this facade, and then at the end of the track, you just get that screaming, which is drowned under the really smooth production of him trying so hard to keep that crazy obsessive side down. And I really love that track. And yeah,
Mm.
I like shimmering soulful pop songs, and this is a really successful example of that. I think as a closer for this album, it's super rewarding. Similar to like the Shoo Shoo song "Normal Love," I kind of love it when like really difficult, experimental, and like testing albums end with something just quite pleasant. So I think this is a good example of that. Another favorite of mine is New Magic Wand. I think this is kind of this whole album. What makes it good in a nutshell can be found in New Magic Wand. It has the melancholy and it also has the grit. All of the concepts is laid out perfectly in that track, and it's one of the most dynamic and nuanced track he's ever done. It's both an incredible banger as well as incredibly sad, and it goes through so many phases so seamlessly that you don't even realize how complex of a song it is. Until you like really look into it. Like, damn, it's like four songs in one. Um, and lastly, my last favorite track is the track
Mm.
"Gone Gone." I'm gonna cheat and just say "Gone Gone" on its own because, like, "Thank You" was cute, but I think it's a bit meandering. I I kind of prefer "Gone Gone" section of the song, and I already talked in the podcast about why I enjoy it so much. I just think it's a really wonderful song. My least favorite track is probably I think. It's a good song, but I think it's a bit too derivative of Kanye. It very much sounds like that AOH era Kanye West, and his flow sounds a bit too much like Kanye on, the harder, better, faster, stronger song that he did. Uh, A Boy is a Gun also sounds very Kanye, but for some reason that bothers me less than I think. Not that I dislike I think, it just feels like a bit of a lull going from the amazing Earthquake to New Magic Wand. And another thing I didn't really dig about this album is I don't really like the little skits that show up. I can see why they would be interesting, but they're presented in a very dull, monotone way. And I think,
Are these Sorry, it just took these are moments where it's just like the
Yeah,
voice and it's outwardly says there's a part where like he literally just says, I don't know what's harder, letting go or something like, you know what I mean? Like letting go or just being okay with it or something. Anyway, sorry, carry on. It's just very like I could have got this from the
exactly. The
song.
album's so good that you didn't really need these skits to explain its themes. And if you're gonna do the skits, then do crazy Wolf era type skits. Don't do like these really boring
Hmm.
kind of Steve Lacy-esque, just like monotone speaking. It reminds me of kind of yeah, just really boring modern R&B tropes. It's the most embarrassing part of this album, in my opinion. Anyway, overall, I strongly recommend this album. Probably Tyler's best album. I feel like this is like his low. Like Low by Bowie isn't the album that by Bowie that you're gonna listen to the most, but it's probably the most like it's probably the best one, right? Like like it's the
Yeah,
artsy fartsy choice, right? And I feel like
it's pretty
this will be that for Tyler.
spectacular.
This will be like his kind of if you want to seem a bit more intellectual, you say, "Oh yes, Igor, the best Tyler the Creator album." So yeah, moving on.
Love them both. Like you just love both of them. We love both of them for very different reasons. It's very hard to compare them. Even if I do think one of them is necessarily better than the other, it just feels weird saying that out loud because they're just so artistically different.
I just received a message about a friend who found a video of one of our lecturers in a band. He's in like a Japanese noise
Whoa!
rock band. And he found a video of that lecturer screaming shirtlessly while playing the music.
Yes, yes, that's
And that is our
amazing.
segue into the discussion for
Hatchie.
Hatchie Keepsake, who is not shirtless and screaming. Very performs this album in a very dignified manner. I'd say, Australian dignity.
They're famous for their dignity
Yeah,
down
yeah, they're
under.
really composed people. They are. So anyway, do you have any history with Hatchie?
Well, how could I? Because this is her
Well, she had an
debut. No, of course
EP.
I'm kidding. I think I know. I was just about to say that. You fucking.
Actually,
Oh God. Actually, Jesus. Well, who are we talking about?
we're talking about
Um.
Hatchie.
Okay. Yes, Hachi. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm a real human being. No, I don't have any history with Hachi. Literally nothing. Literally nothing, and you can say whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah,
You.
okay. My history of Hatchie is I remember when her EP came out and I added it to my library because I really liked the album cover. I didn't listen to it though. I kind of forgot to. And then this album came out. It was getting a tiny bit of buzz, and I was like, "Oh damn, this is like that lady who dropped that EP that I never listened to." I'm happy that she has an album now. Let's
Mm.
review it. So I decided to review this like before I'd heard it.
I thought you had. I got that impression.
Yeah, I mean, same. The Heavenly label. I believe that's the same label that put out King Gizzard. Uh,
That's what you said.
and
Yeah.
just catching up people who maybe didn't listen to the last episode.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, what did you make of this album? This little album over here.
I'm scared. I'm scared. Okay. Um, I, I'm gonna be honest. I don't have a. I have things to say about this album, but I don't have a particular amount to say about it, and that's simultaneously the worst and the best thing about it. Um, I think it's an album that I listen to very simply and just get but out of that I get quite a lot. If I'm gonna sound like Yoda for a second. Don't know why I spoke like that. Um I think it's quite simple, and not just in the songwriting, but in her like vocals and performances and instrumentation. It's very I want to say monotone because that sounds really mean. But yeah, there's not a whole lot going on, but what it does do well, I think it does really well, and I do enjoy it quite a lot. Um, I feel like you're about to call this a giant piece of shit.
Not at all. Not at all. I'm sort of in
Oh,
the
okay.
exact same position as you. I don't know if you remember, but before the podcast started, I was frantically going back to re-listen to the album because I was like, huh. I listened to it like multiple times, and every time I listened to it, I enjoyed it. But I was like, I don't really remember like anything. Like I don't know what to say. And this is an album where it's like it's really nice when it's on, but
It's gorgeous. Like it's gorgeous. There's so many
But when I
gorgeous
look back,
moments.
it's like I can't remember anything. The only track that really sticks with me is "Stay with Me," which is super memorable. Like I think the hook on that track is really sticky. Yeah,
Stay with me, why don't you? Yeah, that slaps. That fucking
as well as
slaps.
"Obsessed." You know
Um,
that I got a little bit obsessed. Like that bit's really sticky. Uh, I think a
mm,
thing about this album, it's good. I think it's genuinely good, and I enjoy it. I think one thing that holds it back is it's sort of
yeah.
stuck in pastiche. Like it's so nostalgic that it loses its identity in that nostalgia, and it never really lives up to anything it's nostalgic about. Like it's trying to capture the kind of shoegazy stuff from the late 80s, early 90s, as well as kind of like the 90s pop rock stuff, like music that you'd hear in a film like Clueless, if that makes sense. But it
Mm.
really loses its identity in all of that nostalgia.
One thing I do really appreciate about this, I do quite like the more grounded songwriting of it combined with those shoegaze elements you talk about. It creates these really like unpredictable moments, or just like it creates moments where it really allows the instruments to like blow you away, like towards the end of Her Own Heart, where the instrumentation is just allowed to have like 2 minutes to just absolutely shine. That's really lovely. I think the songwriting, like that more poppy songwriting combined with shoegaze, does it quite a lot of good. But yeah, this album just kind of puts me in my feels. That's the thing I have to say most about it. It was genuinely quite difficult to listen to quite a lot because it's so like relatively it made me feel like, I mean, I know I'm technically still a teenage girl, but it made me feel like a teenage girl but 4 years
I
younger.
was gonna reference
Um
"Just a Kid" by Wilco from the SpongeBob SquarePants movie soundtrack, but I decided today is not the day for that.
Godspeed, Spider
Godspeed,
Man.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, like it's so relatively in its feelings. Like it does. Ah, and it is mature. Like it is mature. Hatchie is, she's a woman. She's got her thing. She's a person. But
Confirmed.
songs
Hatchie
like
is a human
without a
being.
song. Songs like Without a Blush, where the hook is literally "If I could kiss you one more time," like it's so teeny and it's just like so kind of cute.
Yeah, like the
But
line,
also
I
like,
didn't want to end the dream.
yeah, that's so like, oh, like it's so, oh, like it really, like, yeah, like it, you just relate to it. You're like, oh yeah, I don't want the dream to end. Like it's lovely. And just the like instrumentation is so sweet and like her performance is so genuine. Um, and yeah, that's like the what the thing that I like most about this album is just how sweet it is. Like it's a really sweet breakup album. Like songs like towards the end of the album, like "Stay with Me" and "Keep," um, are so like, oh, she just feels like such a like in a very different way to how like Igor is relate, like, because this is a breakup album. This is about like looking back on a breakup. That's the keepsake, like something to remember from that time. It's relatable in a probably in a much less interesting way than Igor is, but it's very uh like emotionally fulfilling in that way, because it's so innately like relatable. I keep saying relatable. But yeah, these songs like "Stay with Me" and "Keep," they're so they're very vulnerable, and like especially "Stay with Me," where she just is like contemplating whether or not this person is like the thing that's put her in this vulnerable emotional state, or if it's what's protecting her from this emotional state. All she knows is that right now she needs this person. Things like that are like really personal and really like help you like takes it from just being like a cute teen album to like being a bit more like mature and interesting. This isn't. I hate that I just called parts of this a cute teen album. It's a lot more than that. I do really like this album, um, and like yeah, Josh.
I'm happy that you're saying a lot of things because yeah, I'll play devil's advocate a bit. Like, I agree with what you're saying, and I did enjoy the album. I think my biggest issue with it is it's just too mild. It doesn't. Uh, it's
Mm,
a too. It doesn't lean strongly enough in any particular direction. Like, there are really shimmering pop writing sensibilities here, which aren't complemented by the production, and then there's like kind of really cool shoegaze instincts in the production, which aren't taken far enough. It's not like shoegazy enough. It's not experimental enough. It's very clean and safe, and a lot of it just feels muddy in a way that's like this has been poorly mixed, not this is interestingly produced, kind of like Eagle was. Uh, I think one thing I kept finding on this album is I found a lot of the songs to be like a bit middling and fine. Like, I liked them when they were on, but they were just like, "Oh, that was okay." But they have like amazing outros, like Unwanted Guest, Stay
yeah.
With Me. Oh, I really love the Stay With Me, but like Kiss the Stars, Secret. These are all songs where like the first half is fine, and then the last half she like turns the volume up, makes the refrain really intense. The vocals are being mixed better. This is really confusing for me. Like, the outro to the songs are amazing. Especially like the last track where it's got this really somber,
Mm.
melancholic outro. So like whenever I listen to the album, I during the thing I'm like, is it a bit too samey? Is it a bit too formulaic? Is it not brave enough? Well, because these outros are so damn great, whenever a track ends, I'm like, damn, that was a great track. They just leave
Yeah, you
good
come out of it
impressions.
feeling
Yeah,
great.
like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
end of Unwanted Guest, where she's chanting, "Just give it a try." Like, that's one of my favorite, like, little pop sugary moments of the year. Like, I love shit like that, and
Mm, mm.
I wish
I
there
like the
was more of
explosive
that.
like hook though on
Yeah, I
Unwanted
like the explosive.
Guest.
Yeah,
Like there's like the it's quite
yep. It's
fun.
got a really driving guitar
Um
riff that gives the album a bit more grit, which I do like and appreciate.
I I do see what you mean. I think the like more emotional elements really kept me going, like on Secret, which is quite slow moving until the end. But I just love that the majority of the lyrics of the songs are like, "Baby, can you keep a secret?" Like it's just so cute. It's just so freaking cute. Like she's just like, "Baby, can you keep
Yeah,
a secret?" Like
with the lyrics of this album, I really teeter back and forth. Like, okay, I would just give it away. My favorite track is "Stay With Me," and there's this awesome line like, "If I met you in a different moment," which really like is that melancholic teenagey, quite simple but impactful, which is great. And then there's like the "You're still the one," which is like, I don't know, kind of corny and drab as a line, but it's delivered.
but it's
It's
so well
I was
delivered.
just about to say it's
Yeah.
delivered really convincingly. I've literally written that in my notes, so I'm really torn. I think lots of the lyrics in this don't stand out and aren't that interesting or impressive, but they're delivered in a really sweet, convincing way that never feels saccharine. It's just quite playful. Uh, I feel like she has lots of potential, and I do like this album. I just hope she grows a bit as like in how she produces her tracks, basically. Yeah,
Yeah, like this is her like yeah. Ugh.
nice.
Edit that.
I'm
Edit
keeping
that
that
out. That
in.
was me
I'm keeping that
dying.
in.
No.
Keep speaking.
um. So basically, yeah, this is her first album, so I'm quite excited to see where she goes. She does sound like she takes her sound quite seriously, which makes me think she'll make efforts to not just stick to this niche. I do think she is using this as like a bit of a jumping off point, and I think that's quite one thing I'll compliment this album for in its simplicity is that I think for a debut that is quite good. Like it's very focused, and it means I do think she does her sound very well, and the theme is quite well delivered. Like I do think this is quite a solid, um, breakup album to an extent. Like it's simplistic, but for a debut album, I think you do really feel like you've got a character arc from start to finish. She starts off quite confident, like without a blush. Like I never thought I'd kiss you without a blush, but now she's in this confident place where she can do that. Whereas in the end, she kind of admits to this vulnerability. Like there's stuff there, and I really do think she can take this to somewhere very, very exciting. And ultimately, what I really did want out of this was a really pleasant dream pop album, and that is exactly what I got. And I really enjoyed the songwriting and her performance, and I found it relatable. So I did get quite a lot out of it, even if I don't have a huge amount to say.
Now that you bring it up, I do think I do agree. There's like a something of a conceptual arc in the album. I just think it's all a bit too understated and drowned out. But yeah, really pleasant to listen to. Like I really enjoyed it every time I listened to it. And yeah, what were your favorite tracks, and would you recommend it?
See, yeah, and even this is quite difficult for me. Like there's quite a lot of, in a good way, in a good way. Why am I so bad at picking favorites? Oh, that's
See,
such
that's why
depressed.
you do
Anyway,
them before
um,
the show starts.
I do, I promise, and then I get, and then I overthink them. I really do. Like I look at them and I go, really? But okay, no, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it. Stay with me. Is really really lovely. I really like Stay with Me. Unwanted Guest. I'm just gonna do this with my eyes closed, so I can't look at the album and change my mind anymore. Okay, Stay with Me. Unwanted Guest and the teenage girl within me wins. Without a blush is beautiful.
Hmm.
It's so wonderful.
Yeah.
Just her screaming, "If I could kiss you one more
Yeah, I
time,"
think
it's
there's a
so
really like
lovely.
great girlish quality to that song.
Yeah,
I really
yeah.
love the falsetto in the "I'm not gonna fight" bit, but it kind of softens. Yeah, I really love the falsetto in how she sings the "I'm not gonna fight" bit. I can't remember the melody of how it goes, but I've written that that part was really nice.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Great big lush rewarding
So yeah, those
chorus.
are my three favorites. Yeah, yeah, totally. Like and that's the thing with this album. There's so many moments where she does just let the instrumentals do their thing. Her vocals are fantastic in the hook as well, but like it's just a very rich album, which I really appreciate. Oh, and should I do my least favorite? I'd say When I Get Out. It's like I don't like this song. I think it's really unmemorable. And kind of like if you were gonna I think if you were going to dismiss this album as like a bland, like samey thing, I think that is the song you would pick. I just like can't remember anything about it, and I think all the strengths of the album, like how rich it is, and like her like really like enthralling vocals, are just absent on that song. So yeah, that's a low. Oh, yeah, I would really recommend this album. I really enjoyed it, and I think if you just, I think if you really like sweet, rich sounds, and also with like substance, like there's strong substance here. Yeah, I would recommend this if you're really into like dream pop and that kind of thing. I think it has a lot of character and a lot of like engaging moments.
Awesome. Yeah, I've pretty much like picked exactly the same tracks as you. Stay with Me and I Want to Guess were like two of those were on my favorite track list. And I talked about in the
Mm.
podcast how great I thought those songs were. I think those are the songs where her pop sensibilities, both for balladry and just anthems, came through the most, and they're really easy to get behind. I also really like Obsessed. I really like the cheesy and playful sample of her saying, "I got a little bit obsessed." Yeah, they stand out in a really great way. Um, and it's like the album at its most eccentric, I'd say. Um, so yeah, my least favorite track I was surprised when you said it because yeah, when I get out, uh, boring didn't stand out. It was emblematic of all the things I don't like about this album, and this is the album I actually do really like. So when I get out was just really disappointing when it came on. It's the only track on the album that I think's genuinely like super boring, all the way
Yeah,
through.
it's the only song that's just
Yeah.
bad. Like, yeah, it could be lifted. Yeah, this is not a trend I've noticed because that's not really a thing, but just like when, I do think Keeps a really nice conclusion as well. But like, I think like just when I get out, really kind of, I still love the album, but it does fuck with the ending a bit for me. Like it's so unnecessary. You could take it out so completely that having it as like a weird link between Stay With Me and Keep does make it a bit strange for me. Yeah, not a fan of that one really.
Yeah. And overall, I would like give this a decent recommend. I think anyone looking for some really catchy, adorable, easy listening, honestly, dream pop. I think this is like a defo shout. I think it switches up
Mm,
its production elements uh, enough to keep the album interesting all the way through, and it's like super easy to listen to. Like it's really easy to get through. Like it's a really agreeable album. I just think what holds us back from being super impressive is, like I said before, not doing anything particularly well. Like it does everything fine and pleasantly, but there's very little about this album that is super impressive or super standout. But I will definitely return to it, and whenever it comes on, it's like a super good time. We're gonna move on to Kanye West, superstar, if you will. His album, The Life of Pablo. Mattie, what is your history with Kanye West? Now, for those of you who don't know, Kanye West is a rat. I'm kidding. I'm joking. Everyone knows who Kanye West is. Kanye West does not need an introduction. Everyone and their mother knows who Kanye West is. Like, even if you don't really follow music, Kanye's persona is so huge. And I think that's like a big part in discussing this album is just how big he is as a person, like both in fame and like character, right? Like he is enormous as a personality.
yeah. This is not an album where you can separate art from the
Yeah, this
artist.
is Kanye
This,
concentrated, like, but very specifically
yeah,
like 2016 Kanye energy. Like,
yeah, this is such a specific moment in like time. It's crazy. This album is like a time capsule listening to it
what is your
now.
history of Kanye West?
So, I've never listened to a Kanye West album. Um, Josh knows this. Well, actually, Josh, oh, Josh only found this out recently. To his sheer surprise, I think only after you recommended the Life of Pablo. So my first full-length Kanye West album is The Life of Pablo, probably the most divisive the most divisive Kanye album. Yeah, got such a he so much clout and like grand. I want to say grandeure's quite a strong word behind him that it's intimidating to get into his discography. I remember around October, I literally like was like, okay, you can either get into Bjork or you can get into Kanye West. They both have really big discographies and they're both a really big deal. Pick one. I chose Bjork. It's coming up to bite me in the ass now. So yeah, that's my history with Kanye West. It's non-existent.
I'm happy about that. I'm gonna come out and say this right now. We are gonna do a Kanye retrospective at some point, and I'm gonna force you to listen to all of his albums. I like wasn't I didn't I only thought of that when you said you hadn't heard a Kanye album. I was like, okay, so I'm gonna force you to listen to every Kanye album if that's the only way to drag you into the 20th first century. Like I'm just
I made you watch two
I'm
Godzilla
just gonna
movies.
come
You've
out
earned
and
it.
say it. Like, this is my least favorite Kanye West album, and I'm really happy we're
Okay.
discussing it outside of the epic Kanye retrospective because I don't want it to taint that. Like, I don't love everything he's done, but like, I don't. I'm happy with doing a whole separate thing for Life of Pablo because this is like a whole different beast in itself.
It's such its own unique
Yeah.
thing. Like I said, it is so ridiculously of its time. Not having listened to it when it came
Mm,
out, even still, I can remember so much about this
mm.
album. Like so much, all the remixes, like and when No More Parties in LA, and we all freaked out because we were like Kanye's back, and like the Taylor Swift thing on Famous. This is crazy. Like this, yeah. There's just so much around
Yeah,
this.
like one of the most whiplash-inducing moments is like basically I always forget what Father Stretch My Hands Part 2 actually sounds like because I never listened to it ever. And this album's been part of my life for 4 years
3 years.
because it came out in February 2016. So I'm gonna say 4 years. I think like once a year I go for like a Kanye thing. Where like, oh man, listen to all the Kanye albums again, really enjoy myself. And I always try out Life of Pablo again, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's why I don't listen to Life of Pablo ever. Um, and
So overall, you would say you're negative on it.
Father Stretch My Hands Part 2, like I always forget that it's just a weird Panda remix. And it's like the third track on the
Yeah,
album. And it's like I hadn't thought about
yeah,
Panda in a very long time. Okay,
yeah.
I'm sorry I'm leading with my opinion this time. I just need to get
Hey,
this off
no,
my
no.
chest
I
before you
think
come in.
this album is so its own
Yeah.
beast. We cannot apply the normal Minority Arts Appreciation Society formula.
So like my history of this album is it was so the song I Love Kanye, which is like one of my favorite tracks on the album. It comes in with that sort of, the skit, this joke thing about Kanye fans who, talk about how he's changed. And I'm that Kanye fan. Like, when
Yeah.
No More Parties in LA came out, I was freaking out. And to this day, I still think No More Parties in LA is one of the best songs he's done. I think it's an incredible. It's 6 minutes long, and it goes by like it's 2 minutes long. I think that's an incredible song, and I was
Please, baby, no
so
more parties in
excited for the
LA.
album. And then the album drops. It's like impossible to listen to it because you only put it on Tidal. You guys remember Tidal? Anyway,
Oh,
so I remember like one of my friends like ripped the album from me, sent it to me. Uh, I like Ultralight Beam comes on, and it's just gorgeous, but gorgeously produced like gospel choir track, and like Kanye and Chance sounds like perfect in it. I'm like, this is it. This is gonna be an amazing album. And then like the Father Touch My Hands Part 1 beat comes in. It's just nasty experimental like trap beat. It sounds awesome. And then you get that if Metro don't trust you, we can shoot you. Beautiful morning. And then the model line. And it's like it was like a prank. It was like I felt like I felt genuinely
the Red Wedding of
it was
Hip
the red
Hop.
wedding of hip hop. It felt like an assault, like an actual assault. Like, and I was like, oh, I'm stuck here.
It's such a
I'm
prank.
stuck here for
It's
another
such a
60
prank.
minutes. What's happening? And,
It's so long.
and
It's
then part
so
two comes on,
long.
and I'm like, oh my god, this is just the album. This is what he's doing. Okay, now before I let you speak, one thing I do love about this album is that it's still very Kanye. So it's not just like a meh album. It very violently goes from being actually really impressive and interesting to
Yeah.
being like aggressively bad. Like there's no in between on this album. There's a few tracks that are really boring in the second half, but they're like aggressively boring. Like, there's nothing in this album that's just fine. It's
Yeah.
either amazing or horrible. Uh, like it's literally bang in the middle. Like tracks I think are amazing are No More Parties in LA. Uh I love Freestyle 4. We'll talk about it when it comes up. um, and I love Kanye, and I think Famous, like lyrically, I hate that song, and I think it's really gross. But like production wise, it's like an irresistible beat. Like the way he flips that sample is really awesome. And yeah, Ultra AB, amazing song. But yeah, the bad stuff in his album is so bad. Anyway, how did you find it as your introduction to Kanye West?
Okay, so I guess not having listened to Kanye before or this album, right? And this album has so much just divisive discussion around it, that it made it very exciting to come towards it and go, I want to figure this out. I can't wait to like form an opinion and like, you know, start to understand Kanye and like listen to more of his music and things like that. Um, I tried. I tried so hard. This album is a void of opinions. This album is baffling. Like I cannot conquer this album. It's so long and scatterbrain. Like you think it would be like a 30-minute like fucking meth trip, right? From how fucking all over the place it is. But no, it's an hour. It's an hour and 6 minutes, and it's insane. It's so I know how I feel about it, but when I think about it, I don't know where to start. I don't know where to start, and that's why I said to you, Josh, that I'm gonna speak from the heart on this one because I tried to write notes. I honestly tried, um, but like it just didn't work. This album does not respond to logical processing. This album is specifically designed to destroy logical processing. If I'm gonna talk about my actual opinions on it, yeah, I agree. It's a fucking meme. Like if I think the way I want to describe it is, yeah, like it's an of extreme. If I'm not consistently impressed by like insane production. I'm laughing at Kanye being a fucking idiot. Like I am pretty damn entertained the whole time I'm listening to this, right? Um, and I can't understate like how impressive those moments in the production are. Like, and Father Stretch My Hands Part One is like a really good example of this because like it's so shining in points like even that model line you talked about, which is so awful. Like it's so awful. It's probably the worst moment on the album. And even today, I was looking at it and I was like, okay, what is this? What is this? Like there has to be something to it, and there just isn't. But then right after that, there's this gorgeous moment where the female vocals come in and Kanye's vocals come in and they sing "Oh, I just want to wake up with you in my eyes," and it's so gorgeous and beautiful and well
And
produced.
and on the same track, like yeah, you get slapped in the face with the model line, and then like a minute later, there's this amazing part where he's like, "I don't even want to talk about it," and he's just flowing so crazy,
Yeah,
and the beat is so good, and it's like I feel like I've been yeah, the prank is like
it's
you're enjoying
nuts. Like
this, but it's
it's
also hurting you. Like every now and then, it's just
yeah.
gonna hurt you.
I forget like which Life of Pablo does it want. Which album does he want to make? Is he making a meme or is he making genuine like art? Then yeah, then like you said, famous. Like the lyrics are so awful. And like, but the fucking beat. Oh my god! And then like it goes really hard and it's like it's a very like disaffected song. But then in the second half, there's like this weirdly like sentimental instrumental breakdown, like the way it kind of it's like that bum bum
Yeah, it's a
bum.
gorgeous
It's
sample.
very like it's very like emotional. It just it I don't know
I mean,
what it
I
is
don't even
about
like
that
Rihanna,
sample
but her
which
vocals are incredible on this track, in my opinion. Like, she really brings
yeah,
it. It's a really
and it
sounds so
ends
good.
yeah, and it ends with him saying I loved you more than your own damn kin, and like it's kind of like a little bit strained, like it's so human and gorgeous,
Yeah,
but like this is the same song where he's saying like I feel like I might have sex with Taylor Swift because I
And
made
it's
her
like,
famous
okay,
because I
I'm okay with
interrupted.
like edgy lyrics that take shots at artists, but like it doesn't even make sense as a line. Like it doesn't make sense as a joke.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make. There's no like internal logic there. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's
yeah. There's no setup and payoff. Like it's not actually a
mm,
joke. It's just kind of like a line. Like yeah. Um, but I think overall, after the first four tracks, I'm so like blown. I'm just lost, right? Um, and it's but either way, I'm pretty much overall impressed. Because this is definitely an album of like sagas for me, and so I was like, whoa, okay, this is gonna be pretty much what I thought. This is gonna be really interesting, and then right after Famous, you get Feedback, which is the most fucking like boring letdown. I really like the hook of like, y'all heard about the good news, y'all sleeping on me, huh? Had a good snooze, but I think after the like quite like heartfelt ending of Famous, I think it could have gone somewhere really interesting, but this is where the album kind of descends. Like I just don't find anything interesting about this song. I think the beat is so boring and I I think his flow is interesting, but I don't think it like I don't think I think the beat really kills it for me. Like going after such shining moments in production to Famous to like some of the worst production on the album was really killer
okay.
for me.
I'm still with the album until FML. Like FML's the point where it really drops off for me.
Yeah.
I totally disagree about this. I really disagree about the feedback beat. I think it's an awesome beat.
No, I
It's
understand.
really wonky. It's really experimental. It's really off kilter. Like a beat that kind of a melodic over him just yelping. I it's a moment on the album of like, in my opinion, Kanye's still Kanye, so he's just kind of good at making music and he's very like good at experimenting. But there's also just it's this weird Yeezus era of Kanye where he's just trapped in bad lyricism and I don't really know what was happening at that point. There's that line, name one genius that ain't crazy, which made me think of our favorite artist,
Crazy
Panic at the
equals
Disco's
genius.
Crazy Equal Genius. But I genuinely think the beat went hard. Like I really like the how wonky it is, and I like the ghetto opera skit at the end. You get a Yeezy or something. I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't think it fits
I
well
I
though.
I
I
same with like
think
Freestyle 4. I love just how weird and wonky the beat is, and him just yelping outrageous stuff. I love Freestyle 4 and I really enjoy Feedback as well, but I don't like the lyrics on Feedback. I'm more with the lyrics on Freestyle 4 because they just feel genuinely freaky, dark, and wild. The
mm,
part when he screams, "Baby, don't get too loud!" Like it's insane.
yeah,
Like
Freestyle 4 is fucking crazy.
yeah,
I quite enjoy it. I think Feedback just feels a bit more
yeah, it
tame
does, it
though,
does.
and like I said, I think I think it Famous really sets you up for like it sets you up for lowlights. I feel like Famous really sets you up for
I hate the
lowlights, but
lights.
then you just
By
have
the way,
Feedback in between. I'm not even a fan of lowlights,
yeah.
but I think it at least be like thematically and like
Well, I
emotionally
disagree.
cohesive to go
I
into
disagree. I think
lowlights.
the theme of the album, as is displayed by the album cover, which one, and it's a picture of like a wholesome family and then a big booty lady.
A
Uh,
model. Yeah.
and the theme of the album is yeah, it's meant to be a whiplash-inducing experience of bouncing from like very kind of wholesome, trying to be a good Christian family man to just absolute like chauvinistic kind of debauchery. And it's meant to be like this
Mm.
uncomfortable. I think it's meant to be a very uncomfortable whiplash inducing experience. It's meant to feel like quite schizophrenic. So I actually kind of like how he breaks up the nice tracks of the really gross tracks.
I can
Yeah.
see that. I
I
can
don't think
see
it's
that.
successful, but I think that's what he's going for.
No, yeah, and I think that's tainted for me by how unsuccessful the rest of the album is. But to agree with you about Lowlights, like Lowlights is so boring. It's just this like kind of really repetitive monologue. I think that's my worst problem is the monologue itself with the song. It just I feel like they say life about a million times in that monologue. It's so boring.
It doesn't
And they just
go
say the
anywhere.
same thing over and over. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like it's I
I
hate
feel the
that
same
so
way
much. Like it's
about
such a pet peeve.
Silver
Oh,
Surfer
I
Intermission.
hate that.
And like Silver Surf Intermission is another great example of like this album is just
Yeah.
huge. Like this song is boring and obnoxious, but like the song
Yeah.
title is so weird and like it's an album that's impossible
Takes
to
up so
ignore.
much
You know what I mean?
room. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, like I didn't listen to the album, but I still have legitimate memories attached to it. That's crazy. Like it was everywhere. Like in terms of affecting music discussion. For just kind of a like this scatterbrained like mess of an album that's not very
Yeah, because
satisfying
you do get
overall.
people who are like, this album is genius, and if people who don't like it just don't get it. And I just don't think it is. Like, it's just not.
Yeah,
Like,
I honestly came into it hoping it would be that, and around Famous, I was apart from the weird Panda remix in part two, um, which like yeah is laughable. But that the first like 10 seconds when he's like up in the morning, 3 a.m. Sorry I never called you
yeah, that
back.
was
That
good.
shit
That
like
was good. Yeah,
that shit's so
I agree.
exciting. Like so, I still had that going for it. Like those first, I
I
like
wrote
yeah,
it's
I
weirdly exciting. Like, this is too enjoyable.
yeah
The
yeah
beginning,
exactly
Kanye's
exactly
energy is just
exactly
wild on this
like
album. Like,
yeah like when he's like yeah he's like sorry I ain't ever called you back. Same problem my father always had. Like it's so yeah you're just like waiting and then it's Panda and you're like
what?
eh?
Why?
I kind of and then I was like I got like really in my head and I was like wait was Panda a real song or was it always just part two? Like was that or like I was so confused. Um but yeah to move on from the first half of the album yeah, freestyle number four and I Love Kanye are really like fun moments. I mean, I Love Kanye isn't even that fun. He sounds genuinely really pissed off. Like just how he kind of like spits it, like how he just fucking spits his name. I miss the old Kanye. Like it's
Yeah.
so
It's that like sarcasm, but
gritty.
like so angry. But also there's some great humor at the end of
Yeah,
it. That's honestly probably one of my favorite tracks. It's not even really a song. That's how
yeah.
weird this album
When he
is.
Exactly, it's 45 seconds long, and like when he's like, "What if Kanye made a song about Kanye called I Miss the Old Kanye?" Man, that would be so Kanye. Um, and it's like,
I'm so
oh,
it's my least favorite Kanye album, but god damn it, it's still Kanye. Like, it's impossible to not
yeah,
impress you at
yeah,
some point, like, I think, and in how
a
meta
hundred
it is and
percent.
self-referential. Another part, like, okay, I hate the song 30 Hours. Um
Yeah,
but there's a
that's my
part
least
in the
favorite
song
song.
where his phone rings in the studio, he picks it up and explains that he can't answer right now because he's just doing an ad-lib track. Like, and it's so weird and meta and like I don't like
Just
it,
why
but
did he
it's
think
sort
of
of
this?
amazing.
Yeah,
What? I don't know. I don't
yeah.
know.
Like, what was the reason I hate I that I that's probably my least favorite song on the album. And I hated that moment because it was like, why are you making this go on longer for this fucking stupid ass joke that like has no payoff? Just let the song fucking end. That song felt like 30 hours. It's so fucking boring. It was after that stupid ass Silver
Do you want to hear something
Surfer
really sad?
intermission.
Andre
What
3000 is on 30 Hours. Yep,
is
he gives
he?
backing vocals in the second half of the track. And
Oh my
like,
god.
if you told me Andre was going to be on a Kanye track 10 years before this album came out, that would be like one of those exciting things ever. Like, oh man, what kind of track is he going to produce for Andre? And it's like he went out of his way to
Yeah.
produce the least interesting possible thing you could put Andre on.
Yeah. and that's why it's my least favorite song, because even like if there's stuff that's like genuinely worse on this album, it's so fucking boring. Like it's so boring, and you're so close to the end, but you have these like really long tracks coming up. Granted, one of them is No More Parties in LA, which I did know is great, but you are just kind of, I was just there like, oh god, this
Yeah.
is
I think
awful.
I think like the
Um,
second half of this album is the only time in Kanye's discography where I just generally thought this is boring and not leaving much of an impression. Like Wolves, and I know Real Friends is like produced more classically, and it is a celebrated song from the album. But personally, I think Real Friends is really boring as well. Um, and Facts is really bad.
I know you hate
Fade is
facts,
really
yeah.
boring. Saint Pablo is really boring. It's the only time in Kanye's discography where it's outright dull.
Yeah, like I would say the instrumental for Saint Pablo could probably carry it for like 3 minutes, but it's fucking six
And
minutes
there's that weird
long.
anti-Semitic
Like,
line. Did you catch it?
I did not catch that line. I think I,
Quote unquote, Jews share their truth on how to make a dime.
yeah,
It kind of
yeah,
reminded me of
yeah.
the
Okay, no, I
Jay-Z
did know
line from
that.
Story of OJ. It was really bad. Um, hmm.
Yeah, like
Not
that's
that we get
really
political
fucked
in this
up.
show, we're totally apolitical.
Because, you know, politics doesn't influence art ever. So why would you ever talk about politics and art in the same sentence, you know? Anyway, so yeah, that's just like objectively awful. Like that's yeah, really bad. Um
Another
ugh.
like, yeah, like a thing about this album that's so almost impressive is like in its worst moments, it is still being really obnoxious in interesting ways that don't make me happy. They just hurt me, you know. There's a song called Frank's Track. Um, do you realize this was Frank Ocean singing? So
No.
basically,
No.
Frank's track was Frank Ocean singing his own lyrics over the melody of Wolves. And for context, this
What?
song is like 20
Why?
something seconds long. It sounds like it was recorded in a cave. Uh, and for context, this came out before Frank's big return of Blonde. So like people were starving for Frank Ocean content, right? So for
Yeah.
Kanye to like get Frank, uh, and then like do this like nothing song, it's like so painful as a Frank Ocean fan. Because like Frank singing on this track is more enjoyable than all of Wolves, just because I love Frank Ocean. But like, it's like, did he want to upset me with this song? Because it's so aggressively obnoxious, you know?
He really does feel like he's going out of his way to fuck with people, which to some people might be genius. I don't know. I just don't think it's particularly interesting.
Mm.
I normally find effort much more interesting. Yeah, it just it's a slog.
Yeah,
Ultimately, it's ultimately a slog, and like memorable. Like unlike most slugs, which like by the end of you just forget and leave completely in the past. This is like crazily significant, um, as an album, um, and it's like there's a reason we've had 20 minutes, at least 20 minutes worth of material to talk about it. That's because of Kanye. Um, and so I'm very glad we like grounded this in the discussion of Kanye as much as we did. Because without Kanye West, this album is completely disinteresting, I think. Like it's a very contextual album. If you're gonna get anything out of it, it's as knowing Kanye as an out as like a character at this point, which he was in this time. He was like so dehumanized by himself and like discussions of him. Um, yeah, but really, ultimately, artistically, it's just completely unsatisfying.
yeah, I completely agree. Anyway, let's just move on to the recommends and favorite tracks.
Okay. I'd be an idiot not to pick Ultralight Beam. Like, go like it is just gorgeous. Like it's gorgeous. I think we're just gonna agree quite a lot. Actually, I can predict your three favorite tracks, and I don't think we'll completely agree. Um, Ultralight Beam, No More Parties in LA, because I was like, oh, fun, fun, that's back. Oh my god! And then it went away again completely. But hey, it was like having a companion with me on a desert island for a bit. Then they died, and I missed them so much. Um, and then uh um I'll get. I like Father Stretch My Hands. I like Father Stretch My Hands. Those are my three favorite tracks. Least favorite track. I said this before. 30 Hours. I pretty much explained the reasons why not. It's just completely like disinteresting. I have nothing to say about it. I have nothing to say about it. Um, and recommending this album is really hard. Um, don't like. I never normally recommend something like to just see what it's like. Like because I like no like I don't. You might enjoy this. You might be one of the people that listens to it and thinks it's genius. But I also just think it's such a significant moment. Like I didn't enjoy this album overall, but I'm glad I've heard it. Like this is a really important moment in music history and in Kanye's discography as well, who's like such a significant voice in hip hop, so undeniably influential, which I think this album also was as well. So I give this an intellectual recommend. Um, I'm kidding. But like, yeah, I think just listen to this album and just see what you get out of it. Even if it's not enjoyment. Yeah, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, feel pretty much the same way as you do. I think with me and this album, a lot of my hatred of it just comes from outright betrayal. Like, Kanye
Mm,
was
mm.
and is one of my favorite artists, and this album's always just felt like a punch in the gut for me. Like acknowledging that, I love Kanye and No More Parties in LA both have like No More Parties has the line about, the writing block is over, MCs can't see your plans. It's acknowledging that you want more of the classic Kanye, or at least what made the classic Kanye good. And then it just turns around and like farts on you, like it just knowingly does the exact opposite. So for me there's like lots of betrayal associated with this album. My favorite tracks are Ultralight Beam, No More Parties in LA, and I Love Kanye. um,
My prediction was correct.
nice
Yeah.
one. And my least favorite track is 30 Hours. I don't think I've
What the fuck?
I don't think I've ever
Sorry.
finished listening to that. No, I take that back. Actually, I take that back. My least favorite track is Fade. 30 Hours is boring, but Fade is like horrible. Like I can't listen to it without getting really angry. At least 30 Hours is kind of funny, like at points, but Fade is abjectly offensively bad.
Offensive.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
overall, I okay. Yeah, no, I'm gonna give this album like a not recommend. I just don't think it's good. I think if you're a Kanye fan, you're gonna listen to it or have heard it already. And if you're working through his discography, it's like an interesting album to think about how it fits into his discography. Like just because I don't think it's a good album doesn't mean it's not worth listening to from like an anthropological uh aspect.
Yeah, that's the way I would put
But
it.
I
Yeah.
can't recommend this album genuinely. It does enter into like so bad it's good territory at points. But it's not like endearing enough. It's too much of a slap in the face to recommend. Like uh
Yeah.
yeah. So uh
We've got to stop
we
agreeing on things. We've agreed so much
we
the last
made
two
it through. We made
episodes.
it through the Life of Pablo. Now, Matty, I asked you this question a while ago, and I want answers. Do you feel like Pablo
Oh.
when you hear this album?
You know, if I'm going with old Colombian-esque Pablo, Pablo Escobar. I think so, because that dude was fucking nuts. That dude is fucking nuts. This album drives me insane. This album is crazy. So yeah, you know what?
Oh,
I do feel
actually,
like
another
Pablo
interesting
right now.
point. If you
Thanks,
talk about
Josh.
like the schizophrenic themes on this album, I like the Pablo thing again. It's like still Kanye, so there's still really interesting stuff in it. Like the Pablo thing is like alluding to both Pablo Escobar and Pablo Picasso, and there's this both this
Yeah,
like I feel like Pablo in terms of I feel like an artistic genius who's going to impact the world, and like write really interestingly about my mental illness and stuff like that. But then there's also like I feel like Pablo Escobar in terms of like just being this really messed up guy, like
and like this like huge imposing figure on
yeah, like there's
everything. Yeah,
thematically interesting stuff here. It's just not good overall. It doesn't come
yeah,
together
yeah.
like Igor does.
That execution is so incredibly
Yeah.
messy. And I like part of me thinks um you could have like these messy, like completely variety of track lengths album, like just all over the place, and have it be interesting. But there's something about, I don't know, maybe it's just in the light of Igor, but I think if this was just a focused, like 10 song, like character study, maybe there's something salvageable here. Not from this album itself, but I think if he'd come at it more from that angle, potentially that like he could have done the caught between the two lives thing really, really well. But this scatterbrain thing really doesn't work for me. Really doesn't work for me, and it's just way too long. It's just way too long. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, God, that
Dude,
really took
I
it out of me.
forgot about the song Jump Man, and then I was listening to Facts, and I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember you vehemently. I remember you hated that. Like when he's like,
Easy,
yeah,
easy,
you
easy.
know
Just
what
jump
I
over,
mean.
Jump Man. Like, it's still as dumb as it was 4 years ago. Like,
It's so childish.
anyway,
It's
let's just
so
move on.
childish.
Do you have any sick, crazy new movies you want to recommend for next
Oh,
podcast?
yeah. So, yeah, like I said, we keep agreeing on things, which is quite interesting. And who knows if we'll continue to agree in the next ones. But I thought I'd throw you a bone with the uh, movie recommendation this time. So I'll be recommending the new romance drama Only You, which is, yeah, it's a romance drama just about a couple going through some coupley shit, incredibly character driven. So I thought, yeah, I thought I'd throw you a bone after the last film episode. Which obviously you did like the old Godzilla, but it's not your usual bread and butter. So yeah, that's the new movie. Quite excited to talk about it. And the old movie, I changed this quite recently. Yeah, politics, if I'm honest, is really important to me. And in the light of some recent political events, I in the UK, Boris Johnson becoming prime minister. We're recording this on the 24th of July, so it's the day after we found out. Um, the old film we'll be discussing is Ken Loach's film I, Daniel Blake, which is a piece on austerity Britain, essentially, and a man's search for benefits, and how bureaucracy has come to affect the lives of the working class in England. Really think we'll have a lot to talk about. Um, and that includes politically because, yeah, politics are important and play a huge part in our lives. And separating them entirely from film is redundant. Yeah. So yeah, the second half might be a bit more serious. Because I have some very strong feelings about this, as Josh knows, and Josh does too. So yeah, those are my recommendations for the next episode. I'm really, really looking forward to discussing them both.
Awesome. Yeah, I haven't heard of Only You before. That's my first time hearing of it. So interested. And yeah, I Daniel Blake. I haven't seen it, but I know I've like heard of it, and very intrigued as to what we're going to be getting into next time.
Yeah, it's notoriously devastating. So we'll just have to see how we react to it.
Well, look at that The sun's coming up. I think we've ticked all of the boxes.
Oh, we made it through. We made it through. Oh, I didn't think we would, but we have indeed ticked all the boxes. All right. Yeah, guess we can sign off. Thank you very much for listening, everyone. And yeah, we hope you enjoyed it. Tune in next time for our discussion on Only You. That's the new movie discussion, and I, Daniel Blake, the older movie discussion. Have a lovely day wherever you are.
Sayonara.